So moving on to the last section of applique techniques. Now these are 3 different variations on a rose, and you'll find that a lot of ribbon techniques are a version of a rose. So this is a rolled rose, and it's ideal for a thicker ribbon. So this is about 2 inches. So if you fold it over, and you create a nice bit of bulk at the top here. You need to start by folding down on a right angle and then in, and then rolling the ribbon around. So this, it works better if you've got a fair amount of ribbon to go. So about a foot is good. So just keep it folded as you go, and if it starts to kind of ruck up and crease slightly, that's a good thing, because it creates some density and texture in the flower. And if you want to help it do that, you just slightly push up and create folds as you go, just without loosening too much at the bottom. So. Like that. It's a very basic rose, and when you get to the end, fold down the edge and then tuck it into place. So it's really quite a basic one. Just run a stitch through the bottom here just to hang on to that. You don't really need to support it any other way than just a couple of stitches just at the bottom edge. It has a tendency to want to poke up the middle, so if you're at all concerned with that, you can stitch right the way through the middle. I find like doing that, and then spinning around the outside helps to create a bit of a waist, helps to create some shape. And just stitch to finish it. Now this, because it's got such a wide base, really needs to be in a bunch. You need to make a bunch of these together so they all kind of sit together and look more realistic. And once they're settled into place, once they're sewn down, you can just tease out slightly. You're not going to get a lot of movement, so just tease out slightly so you get a bit more of a realistic look. Concertina rose. Now for this you need a fairly long piece of ribbon, ideally twice the width, 12 times the width, twice, so exactly 24 times the width. So this is about 3/4 of an inch, and I've got about 2 foot of ribbon here. So start by folding into the middle, make a crease, and this is a satin ribbon which is pretty much ideal for this, and then fold over so you've got a right angle, and then take an edge and fold it up and fold up, and you just continue around, trying to keep this as neat as possible, trying to keep the folds as straight as possible and hold the whole thing together, because ribbon has a habit of fighting you and wanting to go out the side and do its own thing. So just keep circling around. This is probably a bit too long, but I like to have a bit to kind of hang on to at the end, so once I get down to about 3 or 4 inches I'll stop. So with this technique you can use this for any thickness or any width of ribbon, any type of ribbon really, as long as it's not a wired one. So wired ribbons really don't work, not for this. So I'm pretty much, maybe a couple more. So come to pretty much the bottom where I want it to be. So if you hang on to one end and wrap it around the other end, so here I've got a tail, and if I just pull Come on. Pull gently and squeeze with my free hand, my top hand. And then we create a nice concertina rose. And you can keep pulling that down to make really small ones, or leave it as is. And just to secure it at the bottom here, stitch through a couple of times. And my last one is a folded rose. Now if you've seen what I think was my very first video, was on quilling and quilling roses. And this is pretty much the same sort of technique. So you need to start by making a core. So fold over, then tuck in, and then roll it a couple of times to make the centre of your rose, like that. If you've got a little tail on the bottom, that's fine, it helps you to hang on to something. And then if you fold down at pretty much a right angle and then twist until you've brought the end back up straight. So folding down at a right angle, crease it if you can, and then twist until it's back up to the straight, back up level. And fold down and twist like that. So you just continue until you've made a rose of the size you like. So these are good for kind of bud shapes and for really quite big intricate roses. If you're doing very large ones, you might want to put a couple of stitches in just to hold it as you go. You might lose tension otherwise. So you just fold to a right angle, create a crease, and just spin that round. Okay, and when you're satisfied with the size you've got, you need to fold it back on itself and then wrap your tail at the bottom here. So you're finishing off the bottom of the rose, and then run a stitch or two in just to hold it closed. Now if you make a ton of these, you can sew them down onto your project, or you can also glue these onto projects as well, which I think I have done previously. So that is a folded rose, that's a concertina rose, and that's a rolled rose. So that's 3 different versions of what is technically the same thing, but really doesn't look like the same thing. So there's 3 options to use when you're embroidering with ribbon.